So I asked those who invited me to be here today, what would you like for me to talk about? And they said, Reverend, that's easy. We need for you to talk about 8 minutes. There's a timer right over there. Dr. King, famed pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, used to say that we are tied in a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. He said that life's most persistent question is, what are you doing for others? I think about that, as you might imagine, often, standing in the pulpit of Ebenezer Baptist Church as I consider my own vocation and the work that we are called to do in this moment. Life's most persistent question is, what are you doing for others? We are tied in a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I think about that all the time, but I thought about it in a particular way on yesterday as I got a sneak preview of the new National Civil and Human Rights Museum right here in Atlanta. And in one of the galleries, there is an experience where you're able literally to sit at a replica of one of the lunch counters where young people 50 years ago took seriously the fact that we are tied together. And as I sat there and through the power of technology was able to experience what it was like to sit at that counter and have people yell all kinds of expletives, to shake the chair, to threaten to destroy your life, and yet those young people stood there because they believed that we were all tied together. They sat together. Went through another exhibit and saw the Freedom Rider exhibit. Can you imagine getting on a bus because you believe so deeply that we are tied together? You would ride together on a bus knowing that it might be firebombed, but they were dedicated to that idea that we either rise or fall together. And I submit to you that as powerful as this gathering is, this movement of service and activism will really take off the moment we come to see it not as charity, but as enlightened self-interest. If the water is bad, it's bad for all of us. If the air is bad, it's bad for all of us. If people do not have opportunity and ability to move from the bottom to the top, then the whole thing implodes. We're all connected together. As you might imagine, I get asked all the time, what is it like to stand in the pulpit of Martin Luther King Jr., to serve as pastor of such a great church with such a storied history? Well, the truth is, all of us, no matter where we stand, we are carrying on in a tradition of service and activism that was going on long before us, long before we showed up. And as powerful as Dr. King was, the truth is Dr. King stood in a long tradition of activists, even activist preachers, just at the Ebenezer Church alone. His maternal grandfather, A.D. Williams, the second pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, fought for the creation of the first public school for black children. Dr. King was able to go to a public high school that existed only because of the activism of his grandfather. Wherever we are, we get this assignment and we pass it on. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., led a voting rights struggle in 1935, right here in Atlanta, in the cradle of the Confederacy. Can you imagine fighting for voting rights, marching African Americans through the streets of Atlanta in 1935, saying that we all have a say in our future, I submit to you that if you are engaged in a project that you can end in your lifetime, the project is too small. Daddy King was marching for voting rights in 1935. We didn't get it until 1965, and so in my own way, and in this moment, we at the Ebenezer Church, along with others, have tried to carry on the tradition. And so several years ago, our church adopted 60 young second graders, Ebenezer Baptist Church and the St. Luke's Episcopal Church came together to adopt 60 young second graders who were growing up in the housing projects of Bowen Homes. One church predominantly African American, the other predominantly white, one Episcopalian, one Baptist, and we got together. That's a miracle. Because we Baptists call the Episcopalians the frozen chosen, and they say that Episcopalians are Baptists who can actually read, but we got together. Adopted these second graders growing up in the housing projects, and we said, if you stay on the road, if you stay focused, we'll stay with you. And when you graduate from high school, because we expect you to graduate, we will help pay your way through college. We will make sure you get through some form of post-secondary education in a service economy that requires people to have knowledge and skills. And I'm here to report that several years later, almost all of those children are now juniors in college. One of them is my own mentee, a young man by the name of Bobby, who grew up poor, went from house to house. He was always struggling, dealing with all the challenges of poverty. He's now a junior at Tuskegee University, and I left him a few minutes ago because he's at our church working with other kids in our camp. Wherever we are, we get this assignment, and we pass it on to the next person. And so that's why we're engaged in activism. That's why we were fighting a couple of months ago for Medicaid expansion in the state of Georgia and across the United States of America, because we're tied together in a single garment of destiny. That's why our church has partnered with Operation Hope, an organization focused on financial literacy, and partnered with the Casey Family Programs and the Insoro Foundation. All of us are there together. The Center for Working Families, all on the campus of Ebenezer Church, trying to change outcomes together, increase graduation rates, raise credit scores so that people can improve the outcomes of their own lives. We're tied in a single garment of destiny. A couple of years ago, all of us were caught up in the tragedy of a young man by the name of Trayvon Martin. And I know that there are opinions on all sides about that particular issue. But the fact is, we're caught in this thing together, whether we are Israeli or Palestinian, Sunni and Shia, Democrat and Republican. We're tied in this thing together. And when that young man died tragically that night, I submit to you in closing, and Baptist preachers usually have 3 closings, I only have 1. I submit to you that he died literally with a message in his hand. He was holding a packet of Skittles, and any young child can tell you that there's no such thing as eating a Skittle. Skittles are tied in a single package. It's a multiplicity of colors and flavors. If you tasted one Skittle, it's all right, but if you really want your mouth to explode, you have to take a handful of Skittles, am I right? Say amen to me, I'm a Baptist preacher. Hold them in your hand all at once, and there you get the magic and the power of diversity. And so I submit to you that Trayvon Martin in the midst of that tragedy said to us, and I say to you, that we are tied together. That in a real sense, we're saying to America that service unites. Another way of putting it is to say, taste the rainbow. Red, yellow, brown, black and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Taste the rainbow. Some of us are rich and some of us are poor, but we're all tied in this struggle together. Taste the rainbow. Doesn't matter where you start, it's about where you're going. I grew up in the housing projects, but somebody told me that my income did not determine my outcome. And so when I got there, I had to reach back and pull somebody up. Go and do likewise. God bless you.